Just a reminder before today's programme that Doctor Who fans can check out the reaction and review of the first part of the Series 12 opener, Spyfall Part 1. And now, here on AMTV, the reaction and review of Part 2 of Spyfall as part of Series 12 of Doctor Who. Hi there guys, it's Martyn here, and welcome to another Doctor Who reaction and review video, this time on episode 2 of Series 12. It's Spyfall Part 2. So I'd thoroughly advise, if you haven't seen Spyfall Part 2, obviously go and watch it, or if you haven't seen my reaction and review of the first part of Spyfall, you can go and check it out elsewhere on the channel. What I've actually done for this one is I've written down a few notes on my phone just so there's some sort of structure in a way, so we're just going to rattle on through. I'm not going to talk about every single nook and cranny of the episode. These are just things that stood out to me. But before I start that, I'll just say on the whole I thought this was a really strong episode. There was a lot less like random filler stuff compared to part 1. It was moving along very swiftly. I enjoyed the action, I enjoyed the performances, and that brings me to, first of all, oddly, previously on Doctor Who. Now, I know in two-parters we often get like a little recap of part 1, especially in the modern series, which makes sense because, you know, you want to refresh people's memories. But this recap lasted for about a minute and a half, which I think has never happened before, not to that length. Usually they're about 30 seconds, 45 at the most, but for 90 seconds? That really filled the runtime. And also having someone say previously on Doctor Who, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever had that, and I'm not sure I'm a fan of it. I know it's like a really small nitpick, but when people say previously on and then whatever, it just makes me think of like, I don't know, like soaps or things of that nature, not like Doctor Who. So it's a really small thing, but I found it odd. And then now I want to talk about the Doctor and Master scenes. Now the scenes between Jody Whittaker and Sacha Dhawan as the Master were brilliant. Every scene they shared together was fantastic. The first one, the first main one anyway, when he comes in 1834 with his incredible shrinking device. That was so great just to see him having fun with the part. That is so masterish, just shrinking people for the fun of it, being so diabolical, threatening people, asking the Doctor to call him by his name. Oh, that whole thing gave me chills. And any scene they had together, like when they're on top of the Eiffel Tower, that was really cool too. So there's those two together. They're actually a really good match. I'm not sure whether Sacha would have, say, worked as the Master with, say, someone like Peter Capaldi, or even like David Tennant, for example. But for Jodie, I think they both work together brilliantly. So let's hope this isn't the end of the Master and we see a lot more Doctor Master scenes in this series or the series beyond. Now, Gallifrey. We've got to mention Gallifrey, of course. So there's a scene on top of the Eiffel Tower where the Doctor and the Master are talking, and the Master mentions that has the Doctor been home recently because Gallifrey has been completely destroyed. Someone destroyed it. Now, of course, I got to admit, when he said that, I knew it was the Master. I just had that inkling because it could have been a ruse or whatever. But of course, the answer is why. And one of the best scenes in the whole episode, maybe the best scene, is when the Doctor decides to go to Gallifrey, and when she stands out and just sees the whole city and citadel just in ruins, it's on fire, and just her face. She doesn't need to say anything. She doesn't have to do too much. It was masterful acting on Jodie's part, and we fully got the sense of what was going on. And I really want to explore this too. And that leads me on to the Master's message in the Tardis afterwards. So, of course, the Master does admit, yes, he was the one who destroyed it, but because of what he found out. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky, because he implies the Founding Fathers of Gallifrey, all that stuff that they knew is all a lie. So we're implying that, and the Timeless Child came back, which I thought it would. From Series 11, it was mentioned once in the Ghost Monument and never again. But now here we are. And it seems like we may be changing Time Lord lore or Time Lord history. And I'm fine with things changing. That's the nature of things. Everything changes. But I think if we are going to change established history, we've got to be, like in Doctor Who itself, we've got to be very, very careful. The Founding Fathers of Gallifrey, like Rassilon, Omega, and the other third presence, I mean, to rewrite that, I'm not sure how that would go down. It depends how it's all done. Obviously, let's face it, we're not really going to find all this out until the end of the series, but I'm interested in the the journey of it. That's really got me hooked. Basically, the last 10 minutes where we see Gallifrey and the Doctor's reactions and how much it affects her, that's arguably the most we've ever seen Jodie's Doctor been affected by anything, and it was brilliant to see. Then I want to talk about Barton's speech. So Lenny Henry's character, Daniel Barton, makes a speech towards the third act, just basically saying how, we've let these companies like Vor, but I guess like Google or Amazon, into our lives. We've shared our data, what we like, what we don't like, and then they can use that to, well, in this case, turn us into the aliens. But you know what I mean? I found it a very powerful speech because it is very telling on all the scandals that's been going on recently with data hacking and data breaching and data farming. I just think it's a very poignant speech, and I really liked it. You could definitely use that as a monologue, but I had to rewatch that again just to see it. And Lenny Henry was absolutely brilliant. I was unsure about his character in the first part, but in this part he really nailed it. So that speech was another standout moment for me. But then I've got to say, when it all goes wrong, Barton just says, "Oh, extraction team," immediately and leaves, and we never see him again. So this does make me wonder, are we going to see Daniel Barton later on in this series? Or is it going to be like that guy from Arachnids in the UK, that American guy who survived and thought maybe he'd come back, but then we never saw him again? I would like Daniel Barton to come back in some way. I'm not sure how though, because obviously Lenny Henry is a guest star. He's a very busy man, busy schedule. So unless it's going to be a big surprise, I don't see how they can do it. Now, a little small throwback that I loved, Contact, when the Doctor and the Master contacted each other. Before I get into that, the Morse code, the 4 beats, the drumming or the heartbeat of a Time Lord, obviously a nice callback to like the John Sim era of the Master and the drumming sound, but also the music. Segun Akinola's music in this has been absolutely phenomenal. I loved when she kept doing the da-da-da-da, and then every now and then there'd be an extra beat added into it. It was so menacing, and just the music in general was fab, like especially when the Doctor visits Gallifrey. So Segun's doing an absolutely brilliant job with the music here. But Contact, so we've seen Contact mainly in the 3 Doctors, when the 3 Doctors themselves issue contact, and that's what they say. And to hear those two say that and communicate with each other, I just thought that was brilliant. Nice little touch, Chibnall, I'll give you that. The Master being the Master is my next point. And I've touched upon it already, but Sasha brilliantly embodies the Master. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, he's just trying to be like too John Sim-ish or Eva Michelle. Sorry, I'm reaching for a cup of tea. But honestly, I think he stretches a good balance between like the insanity and the calm menace of like the Delgado and the Anthony Ainley eras. I just think every time I saw him like do something, it was very Master-ish. I am a bit gutted we didn't really get an explanation as to how Missy survived, but I guess to that extent, we haven't also, it hasn't been clarified whether this Master, Sasha Master, is coming after Missy, or is this coming before Missy, before John Sim, in between? We don't know yet. It hasn't been explained. Will they explain it? Well, I hope so to some degree, but you know the Master. The thing about the Master is he or she just keeps coming back. Now, the chat of the companions. I was worried because obviously the Doctor and the Master is such a strong presence that companions can often get sidelined, but the 3 of them had some really touching moments. The bit in the construction site when they're on the run and Graham's they're talking about the Doctor and how they don't know anything about her, and how Graham says, oh, there's something like regenerational when she was a man or something. And I really like that sort of build of, because you would ask, the build up of the companions asking. I kind of wanted more of it in series 11, to be honest. But now we're getting it. I think it's really good. And when they actually confront her at the end, and she tells them a bit, I'm a Time Lord from a planet called Gallifrey, etc. And they want to know more, but of course, she's reluctant to. So I'm wondering, will the companions get to see Gallifrey? I think they might do come the end of the series, but we'll have to wait and see. But mainly that chat in the construction site between the 3 of them was so good. All 3 actors did it brilliantly. Bradley Walsh in particular was fantastic, but he's always fantastic. Jodie's emotional performance. I've already mentioned this to a degree, but I just want to hit it home. Jodie was absolutely brilliant throughout this entire episode. From the minute she sees the Master in 1834, the look on her face seeing him like just killing random people, it sets her on fire. And I just love that whole beat and how disgruntled she is by calling him Master, and seeing Gallifrey and her reacting in the TARDIS, not sure. She doesn't know what to do. She's lost. She's confused. She's angry. And even I wonder how this affects her with her companions. Like, obviously, I'm sure we'll go back to like the light frothiness that her Doctor does so well. But I do hope we don't just forget about this till the finale, that every now and then we get these little more dips into emotion, into that more serious side of the Doctor, the more dangerous side, because I saw that dangerous side in Jodie Whittaker in this episode, and I really want them to build on it. But those are honestly my main parts and thoughts about Spyfall Part 2. On the whole, a really, really strong conclusion to this story. Much, much stronger than Part 1 on the whole, I think, but then Part 2s often can be. Next episode, it looks like we're going to, I think it's called Orphan 55, the title. Might be standard filler, but I hope it's a bit more than that. But as I say, Spyfall's done a really great job of keeping me hooked now for this series. I want to know why the Master did that to Gallifrey. Who is the Timeless Child? Will all be revealed this season? Well, we're just going to have to wait and find out, aren't we? But I definitely recommend watching Spyfall, oh, see there, I've done it, Spyfall. It's not Skyfall, it's Spyfall. Well, one last thing I will mention, the two ladies that she meets in 1834 and 1943. Really cool to get that little bit of history in there because, I mean, I'd never heard of those two, and I know a lot of people wouldn't either, so it's good to get women in history sort of in the forefront of the show. I think it's really important to do that sometimes. But that is really all for this reaction and review. I hope you did enjoy it, and let me know your thoughts on Spyfall Part 2 in the comments below. And until the next one of these, which should be next Monday, I hope you enjoy your week. I hope you keep enjoying Doctor Who. Put on some Classic Who as well. I've been doing a lot of that recently, and that's been good fun to revisit those old stories. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and until the next one, I will see you guys next time. Well, that does bring us to a close this evening on AMTV. We do hope you enjoyed the programme, and please do keep your eyes open for brand new content that will be coming to you soon. Until then, have a very good week, and we hope that you join us again soon. Good night.